friends, and welcome back to my homestead. Today we're in the kitchen because we're making a very special dish. It's called plov. Plov is not rice pilaf, it's totally different. However, it does involve rice and meat and some vegetables and lots of wonderful spices, and it's delicious, hearty meal that you can serve to your family. Now, just like any family, we have our own version of plov, and there's a debate where plov has originated. And the most common plov we know that comes from my old country, it's called Uzbek plov. Now, again, I am not Uzbek and I cannot claim that I have the original and the most authentic style of plov, but this is my version of plov. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to make it. So right now I'm chopping all of my vegetables that I'm going to need for this recipe. And I already chopped a bunch of carrots, and I'll tell you how many I have in a minute. And if you don't like chopping them, but this is a traditional way to chop them, like long little slices, you can always use a regular carrot cheese shredder, like a grater like this. It will work just fine as well. But I chose to actually slice them all in a thin little slices. This dish is made very often when we need to feed a big crowd of people, because you can stretch the amount of meat you're going to serve, you can stretch it by mixing it with rice, and therefore it's affordable and it's delicious. So we serve it at weddings, birthdays, picnics, you name it. It's wonderful. So let me show you what we will need for this recipe. And now today I'm making a big batch because I am cooking for my family and for another family for meal train that I'm going to be delivering later on tonight. But let me show you what we need. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Okay, we've got a very large onion, 4 carrots. Now I am making a big batch, so I multiply this a little bit, but 1 large onion or 2 small onions, 4 medium-sized carrots. Then I have a pound of chicken, and I like to use chicken thighs because, come on, let's face it, juicier, softer. Now the traditional plov is made with lamb. I don't have lamb, but if I did, I would have used it, and we love plov using lamb. You can also use goat meat, you can use beef, and even if you want to, you can use pork. But in my case, it's going to be chicken. Okay, so again, chicken 1 pound, 1 large onion, 4 carrots. Yes, I know it calls for a lot of carrots, but that's what's going to give that rich color. All right, let me show you what other ingredients we're going to need. Obviously salt, and I'm going to start by using 2 teaspoons of salt, but we may end up using more. We're using a lot of garlic, and traditionally you take the whole garlic, you peel the big outer shell, and you place it just like this into the dish, into the pot when it's cooking. But I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to peel them and crush them. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be using, for one batch, for one recipe, I'm going to be using 5 little cloves. 5. Okay. All right, let's continue. I have half a teaspoon of black crushed pepper, a teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of cumin, or you can put less if you don't like a lot of cumin. So half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of coriander, a tablespoon of paprika. And these items are usually not in a traditional plov, but it's in my plov. Half a cup of fresh tomato, chopped tomato, or a large tablespoon of tomato paste. So those what I use. And then the big star of the show. You can use as little or as much rice as you want to. Just remember that rice doubles in size when it's cooked. I am cooking a lot because it's for my family and another family dinner as well. I washed it and it's been soaking in cold water on my counter for the last 2 hours. Anyway, this recipe, you're probably gonna need 2 cups of rice. So I like to use this rice. It's not a short rice, it's not a long rice, but it's a white rice, and you can use any rice you like. This is basmati rice. The reason why I'm showing it first, it's because it needs to be washed in several waters, running water, and then it needs to soak for 2 hours before using it in this dish. So let me start washing it. All right, so I'm going to be using this very large pot we call kazan, and it is a cast iron, very thick kind of pot. Now, traditionally, plov is cooked outdoors on the fire, but we're breaking the rules today, so we're going to make it in the house. But this is my kazan. Isn't it beautiful? Now, if you don't have kazan, that's fine. Any cast iron or any large pot with thick bottom will work just fine. So I put the heat on and I'm going to warm this up. It's going to take a little bit to warm it up because it takes a while for cast iron to warm up. And then I'm going to be pouring my oil, and I'm going to cook the meat first. This is not a low-cal, low-fat dish by any means. It's a very hearty, it's very nostalgic. It's one of those comfort foods that we love to serve to our families. So I'm gonna wait for a few minutes for this to warm up. So I have everything ready for cooking. So I have my meat that I chopped up in about 1.5 inches in size. And you will notice that I let the fat on it because I'm gonna try to cook it all down. Then I have my onion. An onion is cut, you can cut them in pieces or in slices. It's whatever you like, it doesn't matter. But the more onion you have, the better dish will be. And then I have my carrots. Again, like I said, we usually slice them into long, thin pieces, but you can shred them as well. And I have my rice sitting there on counter, soaking in water. Okay. Okay, let this bad boy warm up. Putting chicken in there. I'm gonna try to be careful because I don't want to burn myself. Okay, and I'm gonna cook all this chicken until it's golden on all of the sides. Okay, so this bad boy's been cooking for a few minutes and the carrots are getting nice and soft. So I'm going to be adding the rest of my ingredients. And now this is something that I put. This is not part of a traditional one, but that's what I like. And I'm going to be putting my tomato paste. I'm going to be putting some fresh tomato as well. I did remove the skin from it though. So let me stir this all up. And then I'm going to be adding all of my spices and salt, including at this point. I did not want to add salt earlier because I know that if you put salt right on top of meat when it's still uncooked, the meat will lose a lot of juice because the salt will draw it out. And we don't want dry meat. So, all right, so mix it all up. All right, here are my spices. I have lots and lots of garlic. And we need about 5 little cloves per recipe. Okay? Then we're gonna put some salt. And at this point, I'm only gonna put a teaspoon. And I will add later when the rice goes in. I have 1 teaspoon of black crushed pepper. I have a tablespoon of paprika. Okay, now I need to put my other spices. Okay, so this is cumin, and normally they put about a teaspoon in most recipes, but I'm not a big fan of cumin, so I'm only putting a half a teaspoon. Fine, I'll put a little bit more, but I'm really not a big fan. In my language, it's called zira. All right, so about a half a teaspoon of zira, cumin. Now this is coriander, and yeah, I'm a big fan of coriander, so I'm putting a teaspoon, maybe even more. It's to your liking. Then we have turmeric, and I'm gonna put a teaspoon of turmeric. I'm gonna stir this all up. Isn't that a beautiful color? You know what I could throw in here? It would be nice. Nice aroma is a bay leaf. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw in a bay leaf. Give me a second. These are the dry bay leaves from my tree that I had. Okay, so the bay leaf is in, but that's optional. You don't have to put it in. I just thought about last minute. All right, so this is all cooking. All right, so what I need to do is now I'm going to be adding some water. So this is nice and stewing all because I don't want it to be dry. So I'm going to add a little bit of water. Okay, let's see if that's enough. So that was probably about a cup or so of water. But again, I have, yep. So I want everything to be nice and covered, but not totally soupy. Okay, so nice and covered with water. Okay, at this point, I'm gonna take my very, very heavy cover. I'm gonna cover everything. It is heavy. Okay, so 20 minutes of this stewing, sauteing has passed. And I've been stirring it, I want to say maybe every 2 minutes or so, maybe every 3 minutes, because I didn't want anything to stick to the bottom. And I just tasted it for salt, and it tastes okay for salt right now. However, I do know that if I have to add any more water, I may have to add more salt. Okay, last step is I'm adding all of my rice. It was soaking on a counter for 2 hours. And I've got to put this all. I know it's going to look like it's a lot of rice because I'm making a lot of clove today. Okay, so all my rice is here. And I'm going to spread this all. I'm not mixing it. I'm not going to mix this bad boy. All I'm doing is I'm spreading it around nice and even. Okay? Nice and even. If I don't have enough water covering everything, then I will add a little bit more. But right now I need to make sure that all of this rice, you want to come a little closer? Just look right over how I'm doing this, because it's going to be important how much water I have. And when I press down, it has to be about, my mama used to say this much, I'm not kidding. Used to be, she would say this much, just the top part of your finger. That's how much fluid we need to have. So just like that. So I'm going to be pushing all this down, making sure that everything is under, because we don't want this rice to be nice and soupy, okay? Because then it will not be plov, it will be shaplia, which is a totally different dish. So I'm going to be making sure everything is nice and even, and I'm not stirring it up, okay? I feel like I want to add just a little bit more liquid. So I have hot water in my tea kettle, in my chainik. I have a little bit of water. And when I pour this, I don't want to just pour it because it's going to mess it all up. So I'm going to be pouring right on top of my spatula, just like this. So not to break. Okay, now let's take a look again. Now, if the rice was not soaked for 2 hours, I would need a whole lot more water on top. But because my rice has been soaking and the rice is nice and soft, yeah, see when I press down, I feel like I have enough liquid. Okay, so I'm gonna cover this up and I'm gonna cook this for the next 10 or 15 minutes until the rice is nice and soft. Okay, I'm gonna taste it, but at that point, any liquid that's on top of the rice will be absorbed. I just tasted it for salt and it's perfect. But if you feel that you need more, this is the time to sprinkle a little bit more on top. But I tasted it, it's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna cook this for the next 10-15 minutes and I'm gonna keep checking on the rice, making sure that it's nice and soft. And by then, all the liquid will be absorbed, and at that point, only at that point, that I will stir everything together. Okay, so this has been cooking for about 12 minutes now, and I want to check on it, okay? All right, let's take a look. So the liquid got absorbed. I want to just taste it, make sure it's done. It's hot. It smells so good. It's done. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So at this point, I'm gonna turn off the heat. And this dish is done. Isn't this beautiful? I know it looks just like rice on top, or there's all that meat and all the vegetables on the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the heat. Let's take a look. Oh, it's beautiful. It's light and fluffy. It's not soupy. It's not dry. It's perfect. So I'm gonna serve this to my family, but on the side, I'm gonna make a simple garden salad. And I think I have a video about how I make my simple garden salad, because it is absolutely perfect when you have fresh tomatoes and cucumbers, and it goes very well with pickles for some reason. At least that's how it's in my family. Oh, the aroma of plov. It is amazing, my friends. Anyways, so this is my plov. I hope you are enjoying this recipe. I hope you have a chance to make plov and enjoy it in your home. Make it for your family. I hope you're encouraged to make plov and try something new.